Hey, how's it going everybody? Chan126 here, and welcome back to my channel for another video. Today I'll be covering some Master League Classic gameplay featuring the team that I used to hit Legend 2 times with this season on both my main and my ult account Streakong. That is the team of Double Legacy Mewtwo Lead, Excadrill, and Giratina Origin. If you played Master League before, you should be no strangers to these Pokemon. They've been out for quite some time and they're very meta, so it should be, something you're very familiar with. That being said, I don't think there are many people playing this team in this particular composition this season, and for good reason. With the addition of Yveltal being a hard counter to Mewtwo and Giratina, you could say it's a kind of a high-risk team, and Excadrill is not a hard counter to Yveltal by any means. And secondly, this team is very glassy. All these Pokemon put out lots of damage, but they're somewhat fragile, so they're very shield dependent in most situations, and if you're unfamiliar with the team or certain matchups, it can be very hard to play out the game using this team. That being said, this team may work for you, so, if this team appeals to you, maybe you're willing to give it a shot. Let me know what you think about it afterwards. But yeah, let's just get into the games and see how I did. I will mention that my Mewtwo is a Hundo, my Giratina is a 98 IV, 15, 15, 14, and my Excadrill is a Hundo, and my Mewtwo is also best buddy, so just gonna throw that out there. And yeah, I will be pausing the video at certain points along the way just to kind of break down important situations, give you a rundown of what I'm thinking in this situation and how I approach the game. So, yeah. Then my Mewtwo into a Togekiss lead. Not the worst matchup, it's fairly neutral for the most part. Really depends on my opponent chooses to play it out. So when I play Mewtwo against a Togekiss, it's very important that I time my charge move appropriately. I do not want to let any extra charms through, otherwise that will prevent me from getting to a Side Strike. So I throw the first Side Strike, I get one shield, which is great. I throw another Side Strike. This doesn't KO, but it takes them really low. So in most situations, if they choose to stand with Togekiss, they usually double shield. And I do get the second shield, which is really nice. I would survive this Ancient Power technically speaking, but I wouldn't get to a Side Strike if I let it through, so I do decide to shield it. They don't get the boost, which is good. And unfortunately, I didn't time my move properly, so I let a charm through. That's fine though, I still get this Side Strike off, which is good. And here I come in with Excadrill. I just farm it down, they're not going to get to another charge move. And they come in with a Giratina Origin. They're not the greatest matchup for my Excadrill, but I do have a slight energy advantage, and I do have a shield if I choose to, preserve my Excadrill. They don't have any shields, so these drill runs are going to land no matter what. Second drill run. When this lands, it's going to take them to the red. I tried to swap out there, but unfortunately, it was a CMP tie. Kind of, split decision here, whether I want to shield or not. I decide to let it go. And they have a Melmetal in the back, and this is a GG. Melmetal doesn't win against Giratina, especially not with a shield advantage, so they immediately resign the game. Good games to my opponent. On to the next battle. Against Caleb Peng. So let's see what Caleb is playing today. Mewtwo into Melmetal. So I play this matchup basically similar to how I would play a Dialga lead. I would always farm to 9 Psycho Cuts to feign a potential Focus Blast. I never want to throw beforehand, otherwise chances are they just won't shield. So the Melmetal is going to throw a Rock Slide, and Mewtwo can take 2 Rock Slides without having to shield. If you choose to let the second Rock Slide through, you just have to be very careful. A lot of players try to snipe your Mewtwo when it's really low, so you have to be really attentive to what's going on. And then he swaps into a Lugia. I can tell because I'm always eyeing the top right corner of my screen to see the typing icons. And I'm guessing he wanted to try to catch a Side Strike, bait, or a Focus Blast, but I was prepared for that. So I'm gonna throw another Shadow Ball. He decides to let it go, and that immediately KOs the Lugia. So Caleb is in an awkward position right now. He revealed his second Pokemon and he's completely sacked it. So I'm in a very favorable position, and because I KO'd the Lugia without having to use any shields, that just means that once I let my Mewtwo go down, my Giratina is gonna pair with the Melmetal. I could bring an Excadrill. The problem is this Melmetal has superpower, so if I choose to bring an Excadrill, I would have to shield. But by coming Giratina, I don't have to command anything. The rock slides are not very threatening. And he comes in with a Groudon. It's also worth mentioning it's Dragon Tails, so these Dragon Tails do super effective damage, and it does a lot. So I just have to, you know, kind of play accordingly. I pull a shield with the Omnis Wind, and I want to, you know, get out immediately to pressure this Groudon. Our switch clocks are fairly desynced, but, you know, that's okay. So because Excadrill is very glassy, the Groudon can just go straight Fire Punch if they really want to. Fortunately, you know, I'm taking resisted damage from the Dragon Tails, but they do add up. And Caleb's win condition is his Groudon. If he doesn't KO my Excadrill, or if he doesn't preserve his Groudon, it's pretty much, you know, gonna be GG. So, fortunately, we CMP tied, and, you know, Caleb is in this position, I know Caleb is gonna shield no matter what. Like, if he lets his Groudon go down, then, you know, it's kind of over. He's going to superpower my Excadrill. This is going to KO. Of course, superpower debuffs in the process. So these rock slides are going to be even less threatening than they usually are. So as you can see, debuff rock slide, not very threatening. I can actually take one more rock slide without having to, you know, waste any energy. If I really wanted to, like, be super safe, I could just throw an Ominous Wind, undercharge it, and then proceed to farm down afterwards. So it looks like I'm cutting it close, but I know the Groudon doesn't have any energy to throw a charge move. And I'm just going to throw a Shadow Ball here, and that is, you know, GG. So good games to Caleb. I've seen a lot of people try to catch a move with their Lugia when they run into my Mewtwo lead, especially when they use Melmetal. You just have to be very attentive, and if you don't have Shadow Ball with your Mewtwo, then it's better to preserve that energy rather than, you know, use it unnecessarily. So my next battle against Dijon, the Jin. Mewtwo against the Mewtwo. So as you can see by the CP, theirs is the Hundo, but mine's best buddy. So if I throw immediately, like if we ever CMP tie, mine will always win. Unfortunately, I make the small mistake of letting him throw their charge move first, so he gets that, you know, that pressure advantage. It is a Shadow Ball, so I'm very happy that I shielded here. And they swapped, and, you know, they're going to catch a Side Strike with the Dialga. So nice play by them. And here, I could bring an Excadrill, but because I'm so far ahead on energy, I'm just going to pressure the Dialga just to kind of get a feel for what they want to do. So I throw another Side Strike, and they shield, which is really good. So if they're counting properly, they should know I'm not in Focus Blast, so they're probably thinking this is a Side Strike. But it's actually a Shadow Ball, and they decide to let it through. I'm not sure if they were planning to double shield or not, but this is very good for me. So it's a little risky to try to go for the Shadow Ball, and I just want to get some chip damage, so I decided to go for the Side Strike. So a lot of chip damage there, and very fortunately for me, I CMP tie, so that's really good for me. Unfortunately, the Mewtwo on their end can't really undercharge because I would get to another charge move. So now I'm just going to proceed to farm down with my Giratina. This is just a Side Strike, so it does basically half my HP. But I do want to preserve my shield for the Excadrill. And he brings in a Zekrom. And at this point, it's pretty much GG. Because I have a shield, the Zekrom cannot KO my Excadrill. And I do outpace it in terms of, you know, energy generation and getting to a charge move. So yeah, they shield. And my Excadrill at this point is my win condition. All I have to do is shield, overfarm a bit, KO the Zekrom, and then, you know, KO the Mewtwo, which doesn't have much energy. So basically get to close to 2 drill runs, and that's pretty much it. There's really nothing he can do in this situation. Unfortunately for me, I didn't bring my Excadrill into the Dialga. Otherwise, I'd be in a very tough spot having a Giratina versus a Zekrom in the back. Some people may wonder, you know, Chan, why didn't you just swap out to Excadrill as soon as you saw the Dialga and, you know, preserve the energy? I could have done that, but because my Mewtwo had such a significant energy lead, it's better to pressure rather than swap in when you're down a shield. And for a situation like that, it's really nice that I had my Excadrill in the back. I will mention right now, this upcoming battle, it's kind of a scuff match, so just remember the name for the future part of the video. I do kind of redeem myself. This person's just tanking, I'm assuming for Go Battle Knight, so yeah, really not much to see here. But I will say, you know, their name is Flying Lotus, and I do actually end up playing them later on in the video, and they're using a proper team when I swap to my, you know, my ult account. So yeah, I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, Chan, you know, why are you showing this? Like, it's just a, you know, bunch of troll Pokemon, but, you know, it is what it is. I don't really care too much about wins like this, especially because we're both Legend, so, you know, I might as well take the win. Generally speaking, if I was not Legend when I face this player, I would try to, you know, forfeit the match, or I would just, like, you know, it really just, I don't like playing out matches like this, but it is what it is. I can't really control what my opponent does, and obviously, I'm assuming they're just tanking for Go Battle Night, which is this upcoming weekend, so, yeah, we'll just let it be. My 5th match against Alori Colo, another content creator within the community, so you definitely should go check him out. Lugia vs Mewtwo. Under normal circumstances, if you have Side Strike and Focus Blast, then this would be a very unfavorable matchup. That being said, because I have Shadow Ball, I can definitely stay in. So I'm just going to Shadow Ball here. It basically does half their HP if they choose to let it go, and they decide to let it go. Sky Attack doesn't KO here, so it's really up to me to decide whether I want to preserve the HP or let it go. I choose to let it go because I know I survive it. And I'm going to get the Shadow Ball off here, so if they choose to let it go, this will KO. And he decides to let it go. Oh boy. Okay, so a Weavile, something that is very uncommon in Master League because it's so fragile. I'm not sure if he's playing it specifically because he thinks it's good or if he's just kind of memeing around, but this is a very bad thing to see with my backline, especially when they are able to farm down my Mewtwo. So he has a significant energy advantage, and I need to make sure I get rid of this thing because my Giratina does not want to see it. So he throws the Avalanche, and he swaps to a Kyogre. I was a little slow on the swap because I did take a Waterfall worth of damage on my Excadrill, but this is a win con in my book because, you know, if they just stayed in with Weavile and just played the 2 shields, they could have easily just won the game, but he doesn't know what I have in the back, so maybe he has a different strategy in mind. I'm gonna throw a Shadow Ball here. I don't expect him to shield just because, you know, he's seen my entire team and he has 2 shields for a Weavile. And at this point, you know, it's a little weird that he's playing it out like this. I kind of figured that he would just KO my Giratina right off the bat, but I think he's getting a little overzealous with the, you know, the overfarming. And allowing me to get this Ominous Wind off is a really huge mistake because this is gonna force him to, you know, use his second shield. Weavile is very glassy, so even a resisted Ominous Wind is gonna do a lot of damage. And even better is that he uses energy to KO my Giratina. You basically need to have 2 moves ready for the Excadrill. one to throw right off the bat, and then one to, one to throw right after, because I do have a shield. So a little bit overzealous with the farming on the Weavile, but it is what it is. But I do think that, if he played it out a little bit more efficiently, he definitely could have taken that game, no problem. But yeah, a nice 4-0. I say 4-0 because one of the matches was gifted to me, and I don't really count that. But technically, it's a 5-0. It's nice to get the rewards, especially because it's a bonus dust during this this time frame. So yeah, even though it was a gifted match, it's nice to receive the dust. And as you can see, I just managed to cross back over the legend threshold. 30, 15, not bad, and 10,000 dust. These matches were played on the same day, and just check out my most recent VOD to check out the matches of when I played. Another person that's kind of memeing around. I'm not sure if they think slacking is good, but yeah, when I see slacking, I'm just assuming that they're kind of like trolling around. But to be perfectly honest, though, when I saw slacking at first, this was probably like the most effort I put into a match, because I just cannot lose to a slacking. I'm sorry, like if I lose to a slacking, my GBL career is over. I will never forget it. So out of all the matches that you're gonna see today, I actually put the most effort into this one. Yeah, so not really sure how a slacking would like to play it out. I'm just gonna, farm a bit extra and then just pressure the slacking. They decide to shield the second side strike, so... And then I'm just gonna throw again just to see what they do. It's better to KO this thing before they get their energy off. And they do decide to double shield. So in this situation, I'm thinking to myself, they probably have a lot of energy, so they're just gonna use a bunch of charge moves. I just decide that I'll double shield if I have to, and I'll just proceed to farm it down. And I was a little short on the damage, but it is what it is, and I'm just gonna commit. And they actually throw an Earthquake, so they actually had a lot more energy than I initially thought. Obviously, I don't play against slackings too often, so I'm not really sure what the count is on Yan, I'll be completely honest. They have a Groudon. Unfortunately, they don't have any shields, so if 2 side strikes lands, this thing just goes straight to the bench. And I just need to make sure I throw in the middle of their animation so they cannot swap out. This side strike will KO, and things are looking grim for my opponent. They have a Melmetal in the back, and at this point, it's pretty much GG. Yeah, there's not much they can do. I'm just gonna throw a Shadow Ball for some chip damage, and then I could just bring in Giratina right away. If I really wanted to tease them or just kind of BBM, then I just bring in Excadrill, force them to throw their charge moves, and then then KO them with Giratina. And then if I bring in Excadrill, they'll be forced to superpowers, so that would be just the nail on the coffin. But I kind of want this game to end, so I'm just bringing Giratina right out the bat. And yeah, that's GG. I mean, they're using slacking, especially aligned with my Mewtwo, so it doesn't really help matters. Yeah, I think the only situation where it would have been remotely playable is if I was leading Giratina and they managed to align their slacking with that. But yeah. Flying Lotus. This is the player that, gifted me the match in the previous set. This time around, they probably finished tanking and they're playing a real team, which is nice. So when I play Mewtwo against a Groudon lead, I usually throw my side strike at the 8th mud shot because it takes 8 mud shots to get to the first Earthquake. So if they throw right away, we would CMP tie, but Mewtwo wins the CMP tie. So that's just my general playstyle when I face the Groudon. And it looks like we did CMP tie. It's a 50-50, either a Fire Punch or an Earthquake. Just to be safe, I decided to shield. Unfortunately, I do get baited. And this match is a little bit scuffed. As you can see, it's a little bit laggy. It's a little bit choppy with the frames. And I'm thinking to myself, I completely lost track of what their energy was. I don't know how many mud shots they got because it kind of desynced a bit. So they got the Earthquake off, KO'd my Mewtwo. Very, very unfortunate. but it is what it is. I think they were trying to go for an Earthquake, but they just, you know, didn't make it. And they're bringing a Giratina Alter to the party. So this is not looking good just because they're up a shield and Giratina Altered is very bulky, so yeah, I just have to be very conservative. At some point, I imagine they'd start shielding, and I was able to get the first shield, which is nice. And I have no idea what they have in the back, but I need to make sure I'm able to chip this Giratina down just because my Excadrill doesn't do that great against this thing. So they got an extra Shadow Claw through there, which isn't good, but I just need to pressure this Giratina. Yeah, and that's gonna kind of cost them the game. So what happens there is that instead of, you know, using that energy to KO my Giratina, they actually bank it, which is gonna come back to bite them later. I decided to shield the first superpower because it does the most damage. They could have baited with Rock Slide, but that's a little bit risky. But because they're debuffed and because they've taken plenty of chip damage, this would KO if they decide to let it go. They decide to shield it. I was able to get a mud shot through there, which is really very valuable. That means, you know, if we CMP, I will win the CMP and I'll KO the Melmetal. I'm just gonna throw right away. And yeah, so even if they KO my Excadrill, my Giratina has it has a charge move ready, and I win CMP. So unless I desync at the CMP, then this game is pretty much over. A big mistake to let my Giratina Origin, you know, survive. They definitely should have, you know, got rid of it. But yeah, this is where it comes back to bite them. There's really nothing they can do. And yeah, good games to my opponent. So that's just me capitalizing on a mistake. I need to make sure I have a charge move ready for the Giratina Altered for when I come back in. If I didn't, then I would lose that as well. And good games to my opponent. Go on to the next match. A Mewtwo into a Mewtwo Mirror. So generally speaking, always farm to 7 Psycho Cuts to feign the Shadow Ball, because obviously it's the most threatening, you know, move for a Mewtwo. I try not to. I actually prefer not to throw first, just to see if I can get a shield or not. If I reveal Shadow Ball right away, you know, if I KO it and they have like a E-Battle in the back, then they just overfarm and they just punish me for having that move. I decide to shield, and unfortunately it's a Side Strike. I definitely could have survived that if I chose to let it go. Fortunately for me, my Mewtwo's best buddy, so if we ever CMP, I know I'm going to win. This time around, I'm going to Shadow Ball, and they decide to let it go. And unfortunately, they have a Yvel in the back. So in this position, I have to stay in no matter what. I cannot afford to bring in my Excadrill unless they're double weak to it in the back. If I bring in my Excadrill early, like if I take the initiative and they have a proper response for it, then I kind of just lose the game because I have Giratina and Mewtwo. So I got a little greedy there. I got the Shadow Ball off, but I could have gone a Side Strike off for some extra chip damage. I thought I would be able to get to another Shadow Ball. A little bit greedy on my part, but anyways, I put them in Rock Slide range, so as long as one lands, then I am good here. It takes 6 Snarls for a Focus Blast, so I have to be very cautious, and I need to make sure I get rid of this E-Battle. Fortunately for me, I'm able to... Well, unfortunately for them, they actually decide to swap out. Very interesting choice, but I guess they want to make sure that they didn't get hit by the Rock Slide. I'm able to catch a Superpower on my Giratina, and that's really good for me. So these Rock Slides are not going to do very much, and I can just play really aggressively here. So one loose con would be to actually KO this Melmetal before my switch clock is up, because if I KO it immediately and my switch clock isn't up, the E-Battle just takes advantage and just farms a lot of extra energy, and they do have a shield advantage, so if they have a Dark Pulse ready for my Excadrill, then it's pretty much GG's. or a Focus Blast, sorry. So what I'm doing here is I'm at 100 energy, but I'm not throwing. I'm ensuring that by the time I KO this Melmetal, my switch clock is almost up. We're fairly decent. And I'm just going to throw the Ominous Wind to stall out the remaining seconds on my switch clock. I'm not expecting this Ominous Wind to KO, just for stalling purposes. And now I have a Rock Slide ready, and I'm just going to throw. Because that wasn't a CMP and they have a shield, like we didn't CMP, I'm going to throw the second Rock Slide, and this is going to be GG's. It's going to KO, and good games to my opponent. Unfortunately for them, they brought in the Melmetal, and it kind of allowed me to take advantage of the situation. If they stayed in with Melmetal to get rid of my Excadrill, I think they would have been perfectly fine. They could have won the game. But of course, they don't know what I have in the back, so it's kind of expected. And, you know, sometimes you make decisions that don't pay off. So I'm just going to pause the video right here. Generally speaking, when I play against the Melmetal and Dialga, I play it fairly similarly. So I always farm to 9 Psycho Cuts for my first potential charge move, which is obviously going to be a Focus Blast because it's most threatening to a Steel type. And then I play the bait game with them. Obviously, my opponent doesn't know that I don't have Focus Blast, but I don't want them to know that. So if I'm going up to 9, then I'm feigning or giving them the perception that I may have it. So it kind of plays that mental mind game with them. And yeah. So they get to the Iron Head before I would get to 9 Psycho Cuts, or as I'm getting to the 9th Psycho Cut, so I always shield the first one. And then here, I'm just playing the bait game with them. Obviously, I don't have Focus Blast, but they don't know that. I'm just going to throw a Side Strike here and see if I can, you know, chip it down or get a shield. I get 1 shield. So yeah, I just basically go back to 9 and then I throw again. So my opponent needs to make a choice, either shield or call the bait. They actually call the bait, which is you know, nice play on their part. A Focus Blast would one-shot a Dialga, so yeah, as long as they're keeping track of my energy, then they're put into kind of an awkward position. And here, could be like Iron Head, could be Draco Meteor. I have to shield because if it's a Draco, it will pretty much almost one-shot my Excadrill. Excadrill is very glassy. And I'm just going to proceed to farm down this Dialga because they're debuffed from the Draco Meteor, so the Iron Head won't do much. If they went double Iron Head, it would have been a lot more efficient. They would have got my shield and some chip damage, so something worth noting. But the safer play is definitely going Draco Meteor. So they brought in Kyogre. I took a Waterfall. I definitely should have Drill Run right away and prevented that from going through. So I throw a Drill Run and I also bank one. And because they have a Mewtwo and they were a little slow in the swap, I outpaced them. And yeah, Shadow Ball is going to one-shot this Mewtwo. If we were completely even in terms of energy, if they have Shadow Ball, we would actually CMP tie, and they would actually get some, you know, much-needed chip damage. They definitely shouldn't have... They should have thrown a Side Strike at the very least, but yeah, there's really nothing they could do there. Very fortunate that they had a Mewtwo in the back. And then on to the next match. Mewtwo into another Dialga. So same thing, I go up to 9 Psycho Cuts bare minimum, feign the Focus Blast, and then basically play the bait game with them. The way I play out this matchup varies depending on what my opponent does. For example, like let's say they call the first one and they don't shield, I would just farm up to 2 Psycho Cuts, 2 Side Strikes again, and then I'll throw one more Side Strike and then kind of see how it plays out from there. So this could be a potential Focus Blast in the perspective of my opponent, so let's just see how they play it out. This time, this player doesn't shield. I'm just going to throw another Side Strike and see what they do. If they shield, I throw again immediately. If they don't, then I go for the Snipe. So usually my opponent doesn't suspect me going for the Snipe. Sometimes, you know, other players are a little bit more proactive and they're able to, you know, react quickly. But yeah, I'm able to get rid of the Dialga. I take the initiative and get rid of it. They bring in Groudon, obviously, because I'm locked in, so they can just counter. Fortunately for me, not only do I get the shield from my Groudon, they're actually a little greedy with the overfarming. They definitely could have thrown a Fire Punch before I got the second drill run off. So getting this chip damage is very valuable. My Excadrill did basically what it needed to do. It got rid of the Dialga by sniping it, and it got much needed chip damage against this Groudon. And here, I could Side Strike the Groudon, or I could come in with Giratina. Tough decision, but if I come in with Mewtwo and Side Strike, they could shield and farm me down. But they actually catch the Side Strike on their Mewtwo, which is, you know, pretty good. Because I get some much needed chip damage, and my Giratina just comes up with cleanup. So I just go for the Ominous Wind. Fortunately, I'm able to get this energy off first. So that means we didn't CMP. And my opponent decides to let it go, which is actually really interesting. So the energy that they accumulated on their Mewtwo went to waste. They didn't use it. And right now, the Groudon has to basically just, you know, land to like an Earthquake and a Fire Punch, and they'll be fine. They have a shield, so it's a relatively close game. It would be much better if the Groudon had Dragon Tail for that raw damage. If they did, they definitely could have won this game, but Mud Shot, slightly faster energy generation, but the trade-off is it doesn't do as much raw damage compared to Dragon Tail. They land the Earthquake. And then I'm able to get the Ominous Wind off before they get a Fire Punch off, and that is GG's. So yeah, some relatively close games for the most part. I could play these situations a little bit more efficiently, but, you know, and when I say efficiently, I mean I'm letting a couple of, like, extra fast moves through on my opponent's end, but, you know, that's part of the game. Like, you can't always fast move deny, especially in tight situations. Sometimes you just have to kind of, like, take the risk and just hope that it doesn't cost you in the long run. But yeah, these are some Master League Classic matches. Like I said before, these matches were played during my last stream, so if you want to see the full VOD, just go to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/chan126. You know, hope you enjoyed the video. If this team works for you, why not give it a shot, and let me know what you think about it. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to comment, and I'll answer whenever I can. And yeah, hopefully I can post some more content soon. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I would appreciate it if you liked, comment, subscribed, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.